Good morning. It's Leanne Peters here. I'm from templeofbalance.com.au, Temple of Balance on Facebook and Temple of Balance on YouTube. And I'm here to basically probably do my only live stream for today that's public, to celebrate our birthday, Temple of Balance's 18th birthday. It actually happened on Saturday, on the 25th of February, but I was busy at the time, or away actually. So our activities and birthday celebrations are happening today, which is Monday the 27th of February, my time. May still be Sunday for you. So I'm coming to you live now from Tasmania, Australia, where it is Monday the 27th of February 2023, and the time is 7:57 a.m. So welcome to you. So I'm here to talk about Temple of Balance, my journey I'm going to share with you. I've got a few questions to answer. If you've got any questions about Temple of Balance, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments. I'm probably going to be here for a good half an hour or a bit longer, so hopefully it interests you to hang about. It's good for me personally to kind of reflect on my journey here since I founded Temple of Balance in 2005 and how things are going and what my perspective is at this time of recording or not recording, of streaming and sharing with you here. So I find it quite interesting, and I do try and do this every birthday that we have. So our 18th time now. It's quite incredible. So let me know if you've got any Temple of Balance questions. Welcome, Bridget. Lovely to see you. So I think it's good to start at the beginning. How did Temple of Balance start? So I'll just talk about that briefly because I've talked about it quite a bit over the years. So Temple of Balance started the 25th of February 2005. I had two little children. So my daughter was just about to turn 4. And my son would have probably been 5. And they were preparing to go back to school. My son was preparing to go to school. I was preparing my daughter for school in the not too distant future at that time period. I was a hairdresser by trade, and I left hairdressing when I had my children. And then my husband at the time, my children's father, we travelled to Queensland in our caravan to have some new experiences, and we had just returned back to Tasmania and had just gone into our own little place after travelling, and we're looking at settling down basically in the area. And my options, the only options I could see, was return back to hairdressing full time or try something new. And I really wanted to be there for my children before and after school. And I thought it was really important that if I could, to be able to spend time with them, to bring them up, basically. I knew that time would go quickly. So Temple of Balance basically started on that day because I set up the internet, and I was doing a lot of spiritual self-healing work for years prior, and I was setting up the internet and our email, and I was on the phone to the email person to set up my email because it was, the mid-2000s. And everyone was calling, or everyone's email was their name, basically. But I wanted something different at that time. So the guy on the internet provider, he asked me what my interests were. And I was doing a lot of work around balance, and I was really drawn to this temple energy. So I said spiritual things, and he goes, and temple, and he goes, what about Temple of Ascension? And then it just hit me, Temple of Balance. So it started with me just assigning my email at the time, and then that expanded from there. So then we went to eBay. I went to eBay, started Temple of Balance on eBay in 2005, and there I was just offering really little readings, some spirit guide drawings, and some other little healing things. And that took off. That was so busy. So I was really busy there, and I was booked out 6 weeks in advance very early on. And I wasn't charging a lot. It was really quite cheap as I was building up my online presence, if you like, and it ended up becoming something that allowed me not to go back to hairdressing. I'm so grateful I had that to fall back on, but I didn't want to. I didn't. There was more for me to do than just be a hairdresser. So that's how Temple of Balance started. So what is Temple of Balance? And this is sort of a tricky one when people say, what is it? What is it that you do? And I think the thing that most people, common everyday people, relate to is my art. So I think it's an art-based creative way of sharing. But I also, when people ask me that, strangers or what have you, I also mention that I try and help people follow their passions in life. And I really feel that my attitude is that I want to be a role model for that. And I've always been that way with that attitude, even with my children, that I want to be a role model for them. And a role model perhaps for those who might be interested in Temple of Balance, that I am living my passions and following the things that interest me. It may not be the same. In fact, it's almost guaranteed it's not going to be the same things that interest you. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to do what I'm doing. But to see someone out there pushing themselves, challenging themselves, trying new things, and practicing at their craft, like their art or whatever it is, and seeing them grow in themselves, I think that has to be inspiring for those who are open to seeing it. So that's been my attitude the whole time, is to live by example and be a role model. So basically, Temple of Balance, what is it? It's focused around my art, it's focused around my life and living my passions, and me sharing that as openly as I can, and maybe then hopefully I might inspire you or someone out there to follow their dreams too. I thought, well, if people are interested in that, then it will grow. If people aren't interested, then it's not going to grow. And we're here celebrating 18 years now, so I guess I'm doing something right. So that's good. Now, why did I start Temple of Balance? I started it because I didn't want to go back to hairdressing, basically, and I wanted to be there for my children. My children were young. I think if we can be there as our children are growing up, I think that's got to be valuable, to be there when they come back from school, get them ready for school, not be stressed out because I'm running off to my job as well. If I can have a bit of flexibility so I can be a mother and share my values and the things that are important to me with my children and guide them, then that to me is that's invaluable. And so I don't take that for granted, because I know there are a lot of parents that can't do that. So I feel really grateful that I've been able to not go down the hairdressing path and to choose my children during that particular time period to try something new, to have a go. I had no idea if it would work. I didn't even think ahead whether it would or not. I just applied and, applied myself. I just tried. I just thought, oh, what the heck, I'll just give it a go. It might flop, it might not work at all, but it actually grew. So I was really lucky, and I persevered and persisted and continued moving forward. How have I maintained Temple of Balance for 18 years? Well, I think just with dedication, consistency, honesty. I think that's really important, and to follow what I felt to be right. At the very early stages, especially when I started on Facebook, which was 2009, so 2005 on eBay, then that was a year or two, and then I went to my website, then I had my own little Ning communities or Google groups or whatever they were called, and then I went on to Facebook in 2009, so that was pretty early for Facebook in Facebook terms, and things grew very quickly on Facebook. Temple of Balance had a couple of viral posts in 2012, and things just went bananas. After that, I think after those couple of viral posts, I was getting 25,000 likes a week, which was like mind-blowing, considering we just celebrated 10,000 likes after 3 years. So it was just like ridiculous. It just went crazy, which was amazing. So during that time, especially coming onto Facebook, it was a bit of a test for me, because in other avenues like eBay and my website and my little groups, I was just happily sharing away. But when you get onto Facebook, you then have people's opinions that are thrown at you, and you should do this and you should do that and you should do it this way and I do it that way, you should do it the same way. So I had these types of external peckings, I suppose, at me. And for a couple of years there, that helped make me stronger in doing what I need to do to maintain Temple of Balance. That Temple of Balance I see as my nest that I am tending to. And if you want to jump in the nest for a while, for a short amount of time or a long period or whatever you need, or come and go from the nest, then that's up to you. You can come in, you're very welcome here, and to receive what you need. But it's up to me to maintain the nest. If I have all bits of other people's stuff in my nest, then it's not really my nest. So I've had to learn, and that was probably quite a tricky period, those couple of years on Facebook. I had to learn to have thick skin and to say, no, this is the way I do it. That might be the way you do it, but it's not right for me. So I've become stronger in myself because of this platform, if you like, that's taught me to really consider how I do things and what does work for me and how I want Temple of Balance to look and be, what I want it to be, the space and the energy of it. I've had to get really clear about that, especially starting on Facebook. So maintaining it, I really think being consistent, so consistently being here, sharing each day, being honest, I think, being practical in the approach that I have, I think that's also helped. I think people can relate. A lot of people can relate to what I say, it seems, because maybe I have a practical way that sort of makes sense, common sense. I think common sense is certainly valuable. So consistency, it means that I've found that people tend to trust me because I'm consistent and I'm here and I'm honest. So you might not have ever met me, and maybe you've been following my work for a while, that I do get a lot of feedback where people tell me that they've been following for a while and they really trust me, and they trust me to open up and share things they've never told anyone before. And I really think it's because I'm consistently here and because I'm honest and I'm open and I'm practical in my approach. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I've observed. So that's how I'm thinking it sort of is. What do I envision for the next 10 years of Temple of Balance? So jeepers, that's for our 28th birthday, let's say, for the next 10 years. I don't know. I used to have a big vision of creating a temple, a physical place we could come and visit and experience Temple of Balance. That dream, that vision I had, that changed for me in 2014 when things changed in my life, and I realized I didn't need to do that. I don't know why I was pushing for it, because it's actually better. I could be more of a help to you if I can say live stream or share posts regularly on social media. Now we have that tool, and to help you in your everyday life rather than something you escape from your everyday life, maybe come for a retreat or something once a year or every now and then for a couple of days or a week, and then you go back home to your life that you're struggling to cope with. I really feel that the best help I can be for you is to be here regularly, consistently, and to remind you of how to change or improve your everyday life and your relationship with it. So to me, a physical building does not answer that. That's a place of escape in some ways, and I don't want to create a space of escape. I want to create a space that's regularly here, supporting you when you need it the most in your everyday dramas and stuff that you might be going through. My big vision, I suppose, the biggest vision I have in the next couple of years is to celebrate Temple of Balance's 20th birthday in 2025 with some events and things for the month of February. So that will be things here, it'll be things online, it'll be hopefully exhibitions and stuff like that. So that's in the works. So what's been my biggest obstacle at Temple of Balance in this whole journey? My biggest obstacle has probably been, I was thinking about this before, probably been the Facebook suppression has been the biggest obstacle I've had to work around, especially when you think of the growth of our Facebook page in 2012 with the viral posts and things just growing so quickly, from 10,000 likes and fans to 600,000 in a very short period of time. That's huge growth. And that growth also means you have more people seeing your stuff, more people come to your website, more people buy things. So that was actually quite good for us until Facebook then suppressed. And like now I've got 10 people watching this live video. When I first started streaming videos, I was getting 500 people, and it didn't really matter what you were doing. But, 600,000 people and 7 people now watching this live video, that is massive Facebook suppression. So that has been something quite challenging to deal with, to keep maintaining a business and a work. This is my life. This is what funds what I do and how I live, and my family's, to be able to maintain that, and to keep the support coming in that way, which is the only way Temple of Balance has survived 18 years, is through your support. To try and maintain that when your Facebook suppressed is really difficult. So when Facebook suppress the posts and no one really sees it, no one comes to your website, no one buys things. So it just, that's probably been my biggest obstacle, especially in these last sort of 5 or 6 years perhaps. So that's just something you've got to work with. The biggest reward for me, for Temple of Balance for this last 18 years, the biggest reward is probably seeing people's life change, seeing people benefit from what I'm saying or doing. Seeing people use my cards is pretty amazing. Seeing people wear my pendants or my earrings is incredible, especially when you're walking around the street and you see drawn to someone's pendant and you're like, oh, that looks like something I made. And then it's like, oh, that is something I made. And so that is pretty amazing when you see people living with, working with, wearing, or even hanging up on their wall my art, or using my ceramic cups to drink their tea or their coffee from each day. That is amazing for me, that people love my stuff enough to use it. That's an absolute reward. I think my biggest achievement from Temple of Balance on a personal level has to be my healing energy cards that I actually started really early on. So I released the first lot in 2008. So that was really early. That was 3 years into Temple of Balance. And I was working on the cards for at least a year before. So it was very early on, and I started this strange concept, healing energy cards. No one had ever heard of such a thing back then. Back then we were dealing with Doreen Virtue's angel cards. That was really all there was, or tarot, and not many people really used tarot back then. So it was the angel cards were the big things. But I saw from the art I was doing and the help I was, accessing, the support I was accessing and accessing for other people through art, I saw such a value in that. So creating the healing energy cards, my first deck, and now we're soon to receive the 4th print run and the 2nd addition to that deck. I think that's been my biggest personal achievement, and seeing how many people's lives have changed because of those cards, and how amazingly deep and supportive they are for us in that place, like I was talking about before, on our everyday level, everyday living level, where we can just get the cards out and get advice or support or another perspective on a problem that we're facing. So I find those so practical, and I'm so proud of the healing energy cards and what they have come to become and be. And especially selling them all myself, over 4,000 decks. Over 4,000 decks of the healing energy cards I've just sold through my website, which is amazing, because that's a really hard thing to do when you're not distributed or published. Now Debbie asks, when I draw a spirit guide drawing, do any communicate verbally with me? And I would have to say no. So when I'm connecting with a spirit guide, which is the same as when I connect with energy, so if I'm connecting with you for healing, or you for a reading, or you, that's probably the main sort of ways, or a spirit guide drawing, or healing art actually, as I connect, I kind of connect in the same way, and I receive the information in the same way, very similar way. And I would say I don't really pick things up verbally, and when I'm hearing and that question, do I communicate verbally? To me, that would be, do I hear spirit guides or energy like I'm speaking directly now? Do I hear them speaking in this way? And no, I don't. It's more intuitive, and it's more something I sense. So it's an intuition. Now, sometimes when I'm doing it, specifically a spirit guide drawing, it's kind of weird. Sometimes they pose behind the easel, so it's like they're just quietly posing, and so I draw them that way, like I've got a model, if you like. So sometimes I sense them in that way. I think most of the time, though, they appear on the paper. So I've got a piece of paper, and I just start seeing them appear on the paper, so I draw that. They tend to get quite fussy with certain parts of their face for some reason. You know, my nose shape's not quite right, or my chin, or my eyes, or something like that. But that's not something I hear as such. It's something that I sense, because I can't get past that area until it's right. So it's more like something sticks me there, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I think that's probably the best way I can answer that. So what are your questions for Temple of Balance while I'm here? It's been amazing, I can tell you that. Absolutely amazing. Hi, Linda and Patty and Sam. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Sam. Oh, Facebook, please fix your problems. Thank you so much. Sam's been following for a few years. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Angela. Angela asks, why does Facebook suppress you? It suppresses everyone. It's not just me. I'm not the target. Facebook suppresses everyone, and there's one reason. It's because I don't pay for advertising, and I don't think the advertising works anyway, because they send the appearance of they show the post that you might be paying for to people that are in whole other countries that don't really, they're just sort of, what would you say, not kind of fake, but I don't trust where Facebook shows the posts that I might pay for. So basically, I don't pay to advertise Temple of Balance on Facebook. I do, and I think also I've noticed the big pages are even more suppressed. It's just definitely not something specifically targeted at me. It's just Facebook in general. And, I'm very grateful for this platform, absolutely. But I do think that you have to navigate your way around it in creative ways so that you can stay present or stay here, because otherwise you just fade away. If I wasn't here every day, and if I wasn't encouraging people to kind of, come and visit the page, please, then we would fade away, like many other Facebook pages have faded away, if you're not going to pay for advertising and constantly push and do this marketing thing that is a bit manipulative. I prefer just to honestly share rather than be manipulative and do these, these sensational keywords that sort of draw people in but aren't anything like what's been spoken about. So I think being honest has its own disadvantages in some way in this sort of area, or what am I trying to say? When you're honest, it doesn't kind of lead itself to necessarily to great business if we look at Temple of Balance from a business perspective. But I couldn't jeopardize that that honesty that's so important to me. So it's nothing personal. What Facebook is doing is not personal to me. Angela says, I'm going to get my cards right this minute to get another perspective. Awesome. Hi, Carol and Dawn, Chris. To put in a simple form, connecting is like a phone call. Yes, and then we, how we receive that phone call varies depending on our intuition and what our strongest senses are. And the senses that we've developed, a lot of people in my workshops and retreats over the years get quite distraught because they can't see what's happening in their mind, their mind's eye. They might not be visual people, and a lot of people aren't that visual when it comes to their intuition. But people want to be visual. They want to see the guide there. They want to see the energy. They want to see green moving through when you're doing healing or something. But it's actually not that common for people to be visual. I think you can develop that, but most of us, I've noticed, our main psychic sense, if you like, or our main way our intuition speaks to us is through feeling. I don't know if it's just because I've met a lot of empaths, but it seems to be most people are empaths, especially women. Most men tend to be more knowers, know-it-alls, but no, not know-it-alls. I'll put that aside. But they have this gut instinct where they just sort of know, and it's a bit difficult to explain how or why. They just know, just have this knowing. So I find that those the most common in my workshops and retreats. And what I've noticed is that as we honour our main intuition, the way our intuition speaks to us, or our psychic sense, as we honour that and we develop that and we accept it, instead of wanting it to be a different way, like visual, if we accept the sense that we have, that develops to a certain level of vibration, we could say, and then other senses start awakening as well. So then we start getting our visual. And when my visual sense started coming in, it was all symbols. It was this symbol and this symbol and this flash. So when I'd sit and do a reading, because I'm mainly an empath, I'd first of all connect very feeling based. So I'd feel what I want to say, or I'd feel the energy of this card, or I'd feel the energy of this guide coming through my body as a feeling. And as I worked through that, and then my visual side started awakening, it was driving me crazy with these flashes of symbols. So I might be doing a reading and I've got this feeling coming up, and then I'd get a flash, a flash of a boot, a flash of number 2, a flash of this, a flash of a gust of wind. And I'd just get these really random, it seemed like, symbols or flashes that didn't really make much sense. It was like flashcards going up. And then as I worked with that more and developed that sense, that psychic sense, or that part of my intuition, then it became more like a visual scene. So more of, okay, like a movie that's on instead of flashcards. So I found the flashcard phase quite annoying. I remember going to the bookshops and looking, I just wanted to find a book that talked about these flashes of signs and symbols, and, what does a boot mean? What does this gush of wind mean? What does this colour red that's flashing up mean? So it was kind of a curious, strange time, but that developed then. So now for me, because I've been doing this for a long time and I do it every day, all of my psychic senses are quite developed, I suppose we could say. So my intuition now works together. It's like having a stereo system on with the TV screen, like a big surround sound sort of thing. So that's sort of how I connect now, but it's really mainly still channeled through how I feel and how I feel in my body. Great questions. Thanks, guys. If you have any questions, send them through soon, because I'll be heading off in a moment. Kay says, have a fantastic day. I'm happy to see you before I have to go. Thanks, Kay, if you're still here. Oh, Melissa just got the notice that I'm live. Great. Thanks, Melissa, and welcome. And, oh, jeepers, Facebook. Excellent. Yes. Okay, so what else? Let's grab a card. We'll grab a card. I am doing activities all day today on my Zoom, pretty much every 2 hours. So shortly, actually I better check the time, in half an hour, I'll be starting our first activity, which is drumming. So I've got my drum here ready to go, and I'm going to do some smudging. So if you want to join in for any of these activities, there's just a small exchange, 30 Australian dollars for all of them. There are going to be 5 today. If you can't join live, I'll send you the video recording. But that's what's happening today. So I might pop back in later with another video, but maybe not. I'll just see how I go. So let's grab a card that the majority of us need now. What do we need to know now with my healing energy cards? So the best card for the majority of us is this here. It's card 94, Overcome is what it's called. It's in the depth category. Oh, sorry, no, it's in the rest category. The cockatoos distracted me. It's in the rest category back here. And down here it says, overcome obstacles, especially those that are created by your own negativity, your attitude, your bad habits, and your lower mind. Avoid blame and face the darkness within your light. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? This card hasn't really come up that much, so I find it very interesting to come up now. Face the darkness within your own light, especially if you have ideas of perfection or God complex, we could say. If you think you're something special, then it might be worth looking at why you think you're so special, or why you think you're why you think you might be something, well, special. I can't really get past that word. That sometimes, you know, we might think we're pretty mastered at something or pretty good at something, and we may well be. But watching our attitude around whether we put ourselves up on a pedestal and look down at others or not, and just keeping humble and keeping perspective about ourselves and our abilities. And if there are any obstacles that you're feeling that you're facing right now, maybe really look and see if you are creating some of these with your own attitude and your own perspective and your own bad habits and your lower mind. What is keeping you in that space? And it can be good, you know, just if you're dealing with a problem, an obstacle of some sort right now that you're struggling to deal with or understand, it can be really good to make some time to sit in this problem, and maybe with your journal, and ask yourself why it's here perhaps, or how it started, and really get more information, more understanding about this obstacle and what its role is perhaps in your life right now. And, you know, have you got an invested, without realizing it, an invested interest in this obstacle? Maybe there's attention that you're getting. Maybe maybe you're feeding on the drama lately, and it's just another thing to add to that drama that you're dealing with. But even though you complain about the drama, there's something that you live off from this drama. So I think it's really important with this card to look at ourselves and the role that we play in whatever we've got going on, whether it's something great that's just amazing and we're putting ourselves on some pedestal, but also on the opposite side too, the things that we're struggling with. Are we getting something? Is there some personal unconscious investment that we have in this drama or this obstacle, this problem that we're facing, that we're somehow keeping in play? It's interesting actually to look at if there's a pattern in play as well. Patterns are things that keep coming up as a pattern or a rhythm or something that keeps repeating itself. And the patterns can be really revealing. So when you're dealing with an obstacle, you can ask yourself, if you haven't already realized, when have I felt this before? When did this start? Have I felt this before? Because it's quite interesting, the perspective that you get from that. You know, when you're dealing with something that you think's an isolated one-off event, and then you just ask yourself the question, have I felt this before? And then another thing flashes up, another memory, another something where you felt this same way. And then maybe another and another and another, and maybe you can trace it back for years without realizing these things are connected. So these patterns keep coming up, repeating themselves, and they get louder and louder each time because there's an issue or some block or some wound or something we have within us that keeps that pattern going. I imagine it like a wheel, and you're flicking this wheel around, you know, like a wheel on one of those boards or a wooden wheel or something. It's got a little notch in it, and every time the wheel turns around, that notch is triggered again. And then the wheel comes around, the notch is triggered again. And it keeps happening as we move through our life, these triggers that trigger patterns that we've had before. So what these are is they're an opportunity for us to look and heal and resolve our issues that we've had that have repeated themselves. Sometimes they go back through our bloodline, maybe even through past lives, if that's something you're open to. But there's quite often that patterns are passed on down the bloodline. So you might see that there's this pattern you're dealing with now, and when you ask, you know, oh, when did I feel this way before? And you can go back maybe 5 or 10 times. And then if you think back to a parent, did you recognize a pattern, this same pattern in them? It can be really revealing to see that actually I think that pattern may have come down that line. And it probably goes back even further back than that parent figure. So it's interesting to look back and look at the opportunity in the pattern for us to resolve that trigger, that block, that little notch in that wheel that's kept repeating itself. Another clue that you might be going through a pattern like this is if you're saying, why does this always happen to me? Why do I keep attracting people like this? Basically, you know, there's a part of you that knows that you've been through something similar before, or you've felt this way. Usually it's the feeling is what I've noticed. What is the feeling that's triggered? Why are you reacting like this? Especially, you know, attracting the same sort of person. It might be a different person or a different situation, but it's the feeling that's the same. So it's quite deep healing stuff, really. So if this is something that you're going through, maybe give it some thought, play around, sit with it for a little bit and see if what I'm saying is true for your current situation. But overcome is the name of this card. And overcome, well, that speaks really for itself. Overcome the obstacle, but I feel especially overcome the pattern, the darkness, overcome the shadow that's been haunting you and maybe haunting your family for some time. So that's from my Healing Energy cards. Deck number 2, which is open now for pre-orders. It's my 5th deck, which is pretty cool. Thank you for joining me today. If you have further questions about Temple of Balance that you're curious about, please let me know in the comments. And I will be over on Zoom doing my activities for most of the day, but I will do my best to pop back in if there's further questions. Not reading questions, but questions about Temple of Balance or anything I do here. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Because it's your support and the support of many others who have come before this time period in the last 18 years that have meant that we can stay. And I've been open to it not staying this whole time because I don't want to feel desperate for Temple of Balance to stay. I want it to be natural. So if it ends up waning out, if it ends up dropping out, if it ends up not being supported and you don't need what I do to help you, then that's okay. It just means I'll go and do other things. So because I'm still here, Temple of Balance is still here. It means that there's something in this you still need, potentially, and that all of those who have supported over the years have helped us still be here today. So I thank you for the role that you play and for your support. And if you do like what you see and connect with at Temple of Balance, and maybe you haven't supported for a while or you've never supported, please have a look on my website. I'm here because you buy things through my website. I'm not here through any sponsorship or anything else. I'm here because of you. So please have a look on my website. Check it out. See if there's anything that you would like to work with and connect with. And thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, ending with the cat hair flying past. Take care of yourself. Have a great day. And I look forward to connecting with you if you're joining me for our activities today. Take care. Bye for now.